Oh my God, I'm gonna cry. If you pick up what your ancestors teach you and you pass it on before you die, then that's the goal.
Yeah.
Cultural perpetuity. Our language lives on. Our ceremonies live on. Our who we are lives on. And that's all that matters. But you have to have your shit together. You have to have your personal stuff together. So people who feel, oh my God, I'm not doing that. It's like, well, work on yourself first. Get yourself together and then start working at the community level.
Yeah.
So what we're doing, learning to be teachers, is we're working at that community level, trying to help people understand this is important.
Yeah.
Even if we're gone, it's important.
Bonjour, Auntie, all you deadly people, beamed again. Welcome to the first episode of the nenda-gikenjiged nenda-gikenjiged Anishinaabe Mud podcast. Our first guest is Auntie Jacinta. She's from Manitoulin Island. She shares that she is Anishinaabe and Potawatomi. Yeah, we're really excited to get this episode going. It's been a long time coming. I've been working and we're finally here. We want to give a disclaimer that this was our first episode. So there were all kinds of feelings, high energy, but we're so happy that we recorded. But with the first, there's always things to navigate. I will say there was a fan playing in the background. Man, it was summer too. It was all hot today. So anyway, some of the audio is what it is, but I want to say you'll get beautiful things out of here if you're listening. And Chimigwech Auntie Jacinta for sitting down with us and also being willing to be that first episode. Yeah, a lot of nerves, lots of learning as these are happening. So excited for you to listen. Maj tada, let's get started. Auntie Jacinta. Welcome to the nenda-gikenjiged Anishinaabe Mud podcast. Oh my goodness, that's a long name, but you're actually the first one we get to sit down and have a conversation about within your own language journey. And so I'm gonna actually open it up for you to go ahead and introduce yourself and whatever you want to share and like what community you come from.
Okay, I'm Jacinta Shawanda. I'm from Manitoulin Island. We're Anishinaabe and Potawatomi, but I make my home in Birch Island. So, yeah, I don't know what else to add at this point.
That's all good. That's where you shared where you come from. I want to make sure you know that I'm also sharing a little bit of my own journey, but I'm very early on, as you know, because we've got to participate in the class. This whole last 9 months together is very early on in my own language journey, and part of this podcast and being able to have conversation about language is for other learners to have access to other people's journeys and their stories. And for me, this is access to other aunties, right, and other relatives, and to have that familiarity, because I don't think we have enough of that in our own communities. But that's kind of the origin of the podcast, is wanting to bring access to language to others. One of my first questions is describe your journey to learning Anishinaabe Moan, and like what different classrooms you've experienced.
I guess my parents were both fluent in Anishinaabe, so they spoke to each other in the home growing up. Like, so I always heard it. They never talked to us directly. The decision was made early on to raise us in English first because of, residential school. So my mom went there for 1 year when she was in grade 11. So, and of course they were told, if you don't teach your children first, if you have children and you love them and you want them to have a good, easy life in this new world, they said, don't teach them Anishinaabe first. And she believed that, so she loved us and she thought that's the way to go. Apparently my father wanted to teach us Ojibwe first. So I have lots of cousins in Wiki who speak Ojibwe.
Yeah.
But us and the rest of us who, we didn't learn it. Like, we heard it growing up. So I'm very good at sort of mimicking the sound. I'm good at listening to it, like translate or transcription. I can hear the sounds, but I never was really interested in learning it, to be honest. And then I had to learn it when I went to university. I ended up taking an hors degree class, and I did language class in like the Native Friendship Center or Native Canadian,
Yeah.
Oh my God, NCCT. So I took Isidore Toulouse's class there, and that was a long time ago, like 30 years ago. And then I also took the haut degree for 2 years doing my degree. I have an undergraduate in specializing in Aboriginal studies, they called it. And then I became a teacher, and I was supply teaching at Lakeview School in Chiging, and Alan Corbier was actually teaching the teachers there. So it was really lots of fun to, every other Wednesday the kids were let out early, and all the teachers got together in a classroom, and him and Clarice Pongwish were teaching us. So it was lots of fun, and then they even had a class in the evening for people in Chiging. So me and my husband would go there. And then I found out they had classes in BI for years, and I just didn't even know about it because we kind of live in the outskirts of town, so I don't really know what's going on.
Yeah.
So, and then in summer 2022 is when I took a 1 week intensive in Sudbury with nenda-gikenjiged, and there was about 10 or 11 others, a few ladies from my community. And that was when it finally clicked, like the charts. Because you'd always see the charts, but no one ever actually made you do a bachelorette. So it wasn't until that was done that I'm like, oh my gosh, it's making sense. The way he explained it was just the way I could understand it. It's like, because Alan gave it to us, and so did, other people, our teacher at university, and other people were doing really well, and I just didn't pick it up the way he explained it. So yeah, I sort of say I've been trying to learn the language for like 30 years, but I didn't actually really commit to it until it started to make sense, and I could sort of see a path that I could follow. Other than that, it's always just been half committed because I didn't really know what was going on. Yeah.
I think that happens for a lot of people in trying to figure out what works in like that exposure. And when it finally clicks, it's beautiful. But when you're going through it, it's so hard, and there's a lot of energy and that goes into those. So that's understandable. But it's exciting to hear that it's actually clicking now. Slowly, I'm there with you, right? I'm right there with you. Another one of the questions are, what are your first, are there first words that you remember learning or experiencing even in Anishinaabe-Moan?
Well, they'd have to be things like, we snick when my mom would call us to eat, or shkana mana when somebody was acting silly or something. Anek tomaba is when somebody's being bad, a little kid being bad. All those kind of commands and those little comments, or tabzanyan, or you're too loud, shut up, or whatever. Just the little things we would pick up on that she would say to us when we were, Kokshin Jonyon Dazi, or it's kind of like, I don't have any money, we'd be at the store, at the arena, bugging her for money and stuff like that. So it was kind of more those kinds of things, like just little one-liners or just little commands. We'd hear it in school, because actually I went to the school on the res, and that was from JK to grade 4, and all our teachers were fully fluent. They were all from the community. So we would hear them speaking in the language all the time. There wasn't a specific language class. And when I went to school from grade 5 to 12, I guess, it was off-reserve school, and they only offered French. So I started having to learn French from grade 5 right up to, I took it till grade 10. But people younger than me had the option of Ojibwe or French. So I wish I had that option, but too old to begin the training. No, just kidding. It just wasn't available, you know.
Available.
Yeah.
When you think about some of those like one-liners that your mom or your parents, both of them, had shared with you, what do those bring back now? Like those feelings, and when you think about those one-liners, you were sitting there teaching me. I'm listening. I'm like, holy, you sound good on those one-liners, like the, you know.
What do I think of them, or what?
Or like when you think about those, what do they bring up for you? Like those feelings, maybe.
I guess right now I'm just glad that I still remember that. Like I'm glad I had that experience, because I know not, like even my nieces and nephews, like because me and my brothers didn't learn, and the next generation in our family, like there were times when my mom would say something and they would look at her like she was an alien or something, like they didn't even hear the language, and so it just sounded so foreign to them. But at least for us, even though we weren't specifically taught the language, at least we've heard it. We know what it sounds like. If we hear people speaking Ojibwe, of course you'd think, oh, I wish I knew what they were saying. But we could at least pick up on some things. Yeah, it wasn't foreign.
Right.
Like we knew it was a real language, you know, and not just gibberish and, you know. Yep.
So reflecting on your own community, who has access within your own community and like learning Anishinaabe? Like how would you describe that?
See, I'm like I said, I kind of live on the outskirts, and I don't really know what's going on in the community, but I don't even know how many speakers we have left. I know it's going down fast, but you know, I know there's still some there.
Yeah.
And like I said, one of the women who took that 1 week intensive, like her and her mother would teach. They were the ones who were. That's when I found out they were teaching.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm thinking, I'm driving to Chiganya every week, you know, and I have, you know, access right in BI, and I didn't even know it.
Yeah.
So it's kind of word of mouth, or you know, you got to be in the right circles to know what's going on, and then you also got to reach out and look yourself, right? So instead of waiting for people to tell you or come to you.
Shoots, that's hard. Just give us the answers, man. That's hard sometimes, but for sure. In your own learning journey, what are some of like the challenges that exist for learning Anishinaabe, or that you've come across in your own journey?
I'm starting to think that like because I'm a trained teacher, like primary junior, I did get my OCT. I have a bachelor of education, and it's helping me to understand why things didn't work for me in trying to learn language for 30 years. And it's kind of like there's this phrase called differentiated instruction. And you're always told as a teacher, you have to know your students. You have to know what works for them, because it's not going to work for everybody. And the really good teachers are going to be able to switch to different ways of teaching, you know, and the learners will gravitate to what works for them. So I kind of feel like I could hear it once, or they could give me a book and say, yeah, it's all there, just read it. But I found out in 2011 that I have a reading disability. So to hand me a book and to ask me to learn it myself, I just can't do it. So I need someone to talk at me and repeat things, and I know I need to write what's being said as it's being said, just to keep me focused and in the room and not daydreaming. So I tend to type or handwrite. You know, so those are the things that kind of help me focus. I rarely look back at my notes, but all it is a tool to listen. And I remember stuff, like even talking with her the other day, she's like, oh my gosh, you remember all of that? And as I was saying it to her, don't you remember back in the fall, so-and-so said this in class? And she was just like, wow, you know what? I remember it now. I can't believe, you know. So I do have a very good memory, and I think that's what I had to use to compensate for my reading problem. So I found that, like I said, it was the way he explained it in that little 1 week intensive that actually made sense. finally the chart made sense to
Yeah.
me. Yeah.
Another question is like, what about the language that brings you joy when you have access and you're learning Anishinaabemowin?
I like the singing component because I do like to sing.
Yes.
And so I almost bought a ukulele. I've always liked music, and so it makes it more fun and easier.
Yeah.
I think I'm also I also have a master of social work,
Okay.
and there was and that was to learn to be a better helper, right? Because I know some of my gifts are being a teacher and being a helper. So I learned from Cindy Blackstock. She did a not from her directly, but somebody talked about her talking about Maslow's hierarchy of self-actualization, and it's only the beginning of the actual Blackfoot TP thing. And the middle is community actualization, and then the tip of the TP is cultural perpetuity. And the person who wrote the blog about her presentation at some conference she was at, the last line of their blog, it just said something like, nobody's going to remember you. But if you, oh my God, I'm going to cry. If you pick up what your ancestors teach you and you pass it on before you die, then that's the goal.
Yeah.
Cultural perpetuity. Our language lives on. Our ceremonies live on. Our who we are lives on. And that's all that matters. But you have to have your shit together. you have to have your personal stuff together. So people who feel, oh my God, I'm not doing that. It's like, well, work on yourself first. Get yourself together, and then start working at the community level. Yeah. So what we're doing, learning to be teachers, is we're working at that community level, trying to help people understand this is important. Yeah. Even if we're gone, it's important. Sorry.
No, you're good. Miigwech for sharing that, and you do have those gifts of teaching and being inclusive. Like I've got to experience that. And when I talk about you, Jacinta, I said my language auntie, right? And being those relatives, and you are working on that community level. And so I also want to say miigwech for that and bringing that to a space. It's not easy to bring ourselves to spaces, but you do it all the time. And I thank you for being able to share, like, oh, I do have a gift to be able to teach and be a helper, because not all people will share that, you know? Miigwech. Okay, so I have about 2 more questions. The first one is, so we know we've been doing this language. How I met you was through the Bidawe Mawadin King Bidabang program. And so we've been in this immersion program, our language program, for the past 9 or 8 months, going on 9 months. What has that experience felt like on this journey right now? Because it's present. We're doing it. We're actively doing it right now. And even leading up to our teaching in next week teaching students.
Oh gosh, it's it's been a roller coaster. And there's that whole saying, right? If I knew now what I would have did this differently or that. But you can't beat yourself up about when you clue in. It happens when it happens, and you got to be gentle with yourself about it. So I just feel like, you know what, all I can do is the best I can do at this point in time with all the other stresses in my life. It's like you just gotta just do your best. And so I'm here. I'm glad I didn't flunk out or anything or quit, because there were so many times where I felt like quitting, and when I realized, oh my God, I'm never going to finish this bachelorette. I should have started early. And then when I start thinking of woulda, shoulda, coulda, is like, thankfully somebody just told me, well, you can't go back in time. You can't change the past. All you can do is right now what you're doing. So, that's sort of what keeps me going. And like I just said, it's that tip of the teepee, the cultural perpetuity.
Yep.
You got to do your part. Well, you can, because life is short.
Sure is.
But that stuff will live on as long as you lift that up while you're here.
Yeah. And you already created homework club, had us working crazy. That's been fun too, homework club. That leads into the last question, which is beautifully, is like for those who are starting their journey and real scared, or even don't know how to access resources. What advice would you give them as they're starting this journey and
gosh. Like I said, I've tried a whole bunch of things over the years, and you just got to keep trying to find something that works for you, because not every instructor is going to teach the way you learn best, but they may be good for someone else. Like someone else might say to you, oh, so-and-so is really good, you should go there. And if it doesn't work, then just chalk that up to, I must have a different learning style. I'll keep looking, I'll keep trying. And then eventually, though, as you learn things, you may come to the point where now you're in sync with that teacher, where now you can learn from them. And, and some teachers, they're also learning as they teach. Like we're always, it's a cycle, right? Learning and teaching, like, so that's just the way it is.
What every auntie tells you, just go and learn, go and do it. That was that last question, but I also want to open it up if you have any other parts of your journey that you want to share, or moments where you're like, aha, or just anything. You can share a joke or whatever.
I'm thinking like in my job at KEB, at one point somebody was talking about like the Maori people have revitalized their language, so have the Hawaiians, and at one point the Hawaiian people were down to 500 speakers, but now they have over 15,000. And some of the ways that they were able to do that was language nests, like where the elders are every day in contact with the little ones, and they're learning the language first. So they're creating first language learners before they move on. Master apprentice requires a lot of money. But there is a lot of money out there, and they got to start putting it into that, because if you can create a speaker in a year from a master and an apprentice program, and pay them both as this is your job's to teach, your job's to learn, and you don't have to worry about paying the bills at home and paying the rent or buying food for your kids. Like you're getting paid. So I'm sure there's so many people who are so passionate about wanting to learn, but they got to pay the bills, right? And it is a barrier that if there was enough shonya for it, then they should be doing that, because sometimes money is wasted on a community level and things flop or don't work out. But something like that, if you have the two people committed to doing that, then it'd be nice to see more money flowing into that kind of program, because it's good, it'll work. And then the other one was creating teachers, which is what Nena-takes this stream that we're in, is creating language teachers. Like we're I don't want to say fledgling, but we're learning to be teachers, and as we keep learning and growing and teaching, it'll just get better and better, as long as we don't give up.
Oh, shoots, don't give up. You're leaving us with. That sounds really beautiful, and I just really thank you for sitting down and just being willing to talk about your own journey. It's hard, it's not easy. I know if you're asking me these questions, I'd be in utter tears. And with that, I just want to also acknowledge for any of those listeners to continue, like Auntie just said, Auntie Jacinta, don't give up and continue your own journey. And with that, I also got to acknowledge the other aunties in this room. They got to say hi, Auntie. So we have Vanessa, we have Autumn, Shikekwe, we have Tammy, and then Ashley as well. But we'll have them on some other episodes. But for now, that's what we'll leave it at. Bama.
Miigwech, Bama.
Miigwech. Oh, miigwech, miigwech.